All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back once again to Tea with Doug G. If you don't know me, my name is Doug Gooden, and y'all, this week I'm very honored to have on an incredible guest. She's a very talented individual doing all sorts of awesome things. It's Miss Nala McCamy. Nala, why don't you take just a second, tell the folks who you are, what you do, all that jazz. The floor is yours.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Nala. I am a second year theater major here at UGA. I am currently the president of the Black Theatrical Ensemble. Later this semester, we will be doing a showcase called In the Moment. It is a collection of student stories just for students to have a moment to talk about how they feel in any way, shape, or form that they feel comfortable sharing. And secondly, a collaboration with Next Act called Boss Babes that we are all very, very excited about. So, yay! I'm so happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you. But with that, I mean, now let's get into the questions because we've got a lot of really great questions up here. So first off, right off the bat, question from Ben Tankersley. He wants to know, what are the top 3 items on your bucket list?
Okay. So, top 3. Number 1, I want to meet Beyonce.
Okay.
I don't care if that's like a hi, I'm Nala, hey, I'm Beyonce. She keeps moving. That'll be good with me. I would just like to know that she knows that I exist.
Okay.
Number 2, maybe more or less practical depending on what you think about it. I want to have an EGOT. I want to have that Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. I want to be her. Top of the top, cream of the crop type lady. And then number 3, I just want to find like fulfillment. Yeah. I want to get to a point in my life and I don't want to look up and be like, "Ugh, I hate what I'm doing." I want to look up and be like, "Wow, I did that and I'm happy." And I can just chill in my happiness.
Yeah. That's awesome. I do have a follow-up question for that I didn't plan on having. But of your EGOT, could you tell me, what do you think would be the easiest one to get? What do you think would be the most challenging?
I think the most challenging one where I'm sitting right now will be the Grammy. I think that Grammy will take some time. I don't know if that'll be one that I like produce and then I do, but like I don't know. The Grammy, that one's gonna be the tough one. I think none of them are gonna be easy, but I think the easier one would probably be the Emmy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Emmy might be the easier one, just
Yep.
because the Oscars and Broadway are both are right now in a moment where they are very particular about whom they give those to, and very seldomly are they people or women that look like me. So if it rolls around and it happens, great. But it will happen eventually.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the 2 that you said are kind of the ones that I always think of when I'm like, that person's got to have an EGOT. What are they missing? And it's usually either a Grammy or an Emmy. That Grammy though, like some people have them, and you're just like, I don't know how that happened.
It's those producer credits that get you.
Yeah,
You look up and you don't realize, because a lot of people don't read like the producer stuff. I don't really read them either. I just look up and see that someone is producing music. Like, I'm a huge fan of Chloe and Halle. They got separate Instagrams recently, which kind of hurt me, but whatever. I'm a huge fan of theirs, and Chloe produces some of the like. They're just all around wonderful musicians, and the music that Chloe produces is so beautiful. It's like Beyonce meets Ariana Grande meets lo-fi beats. It's like delicious. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And going off of your last item on your bucket list, and kind of going off of my mother's comment, which is fulfillment is wonderful, with 3 heart emojis. Another question for you is, what is a musical or play that had a deep or profound impact on your life?
Okay. They're all going to be musicals, and one of them will probably shock you. So
Okay. I'm ready.
the first one is Rent. Because Rent was surprisingly my first musical. That's not the shocking one. That's not the shocking one. Rent was the first musical that I like, the first for real musical that I did my freshman year of high school.
Hmm.
And it kind of just opened up a new world of theater of performance for me, because I had been performing all of my life, but it was mostly with my church and with like smaller things, and just didn't realize that things could be that big. And then with the message and all the wonderful things that Rent carries with it, I think it was just really, really appropriate for that to be my first show. Number two is kind of cheesy. It's Hamilton, just because it's still so crazy to see a cast of people of color just doing the dag thing, and it
Hmm.
really opened up my own eyes to be like, Broadway and musicals can be more than kickball changes and jazz squares and 1-2 steps. You know, it can be essentially anything you want it to be. Which brings us to my last one, which is SpongeBob the musical. I love SpongeBob. The costumes, the music, the dance, the characters, the inside jokes. I love SpongeBob. It's just really, really good. It got snubbed when it went to the Tonys. It got snubbed. Mean Girls
Okay.
didn't need to go. Mean Girls is good, and they worked real hard on that. I'm sorry, Tina Fey, but y'all didn't need to be there.
Okay. Okay. So it's really funny that you bring up SpongeBob, because I feel like in the moment that it was nominated for a Tony, it was everywhere. Like, the fan base was strong. It was on fire. And I'll be honest, it's not my favorite. It doesn't hit the same way that it hits with other people. But I am a little sad because the fan base has gotten like more and more like quiet as time has gone on, and I'm like, no, like build it. Like, it was exciting to see a group of musical theater fans who were so this isn't the first word I would use, but voracious about a show. Like, it was refreshing to see that.
Because it was actually good. It was good, and it has potential to be a show that has a run. Like, there are a bunch of shows like recently that Broadway kind of trying to do what the cinema world is trying to do with like reboots and stuff. So
Hmm.
like how that Spider-Man musical didn't work out, and all like the superhero musicals don't work out. SpongeBob worked out, and it was beautiful, and it was well written in the sense of characters and motivation, and it wasn't something that people just threw together. It was like a musical, and it's funny and it's silly, and it has high moments and it has low moments, and it has all these bright colors and these big dance numbers and these big song numbers, like Park and Bark numbers. To me, like, if you're looking for like a classic musical, like top to
Hmm.
bottom, all around best, for me it would be SpongeBob, because she is just that girl. She does it.
Okay. Okay. I get it. I get it. Yeah. Well, great. So kind of on this theater train that we're riding down. I would love to know, who are some of your theater idols, people that you look up to, people that maybe made you want to get into the business, look at theater as a career. Yeah.
Number one, I feel like if I didn't bring this lady up, then I really wouldn't be doing anybody justice. Audra McDonald, like, she, first off, to
A-
be the only Black woman to have won that many Tonys, number one, period. And whenever you hear people talk about her, she's just this sweet lady who is wise and knows so much and is caring, and she has this gorgeous voice. Oh my goodness. And she's just fun. And then secondly, I would also say Viola Davis, because she is an all-around beast. Stage, TV, movies, backstage stuff. Like, if there was one person like in the business that I would want to be outside of Beyonce, of course, it would be Viola Davis.
yeah.
She doesn't flop, she doesn't miss. And some of these girls out here miss. And then an honorable mention to Lin-Manuel Miranda. He grinds. He grinds like no one else.
Yeah. Yeah. All three of those are just phenomenal. And specifically with Viola Davis, you know, you and I discussed on an upcoming episode of Saying the Skein, you know, we discussed the fact that she literally is a force of nature. And I think the same can be said about Audra McDonald and Lin-Manuel Miranda, like a force of nature in and of themselves. So, you know, I love the fact that your theater idols are clearly, you know, people of color who have done a lot for the industry and have become figureheads of the industry, rightfully so. But one of the questions that we got again from Ben Tankersley is who are some Black playwrights that you think more people should know about?
Okay, so I have a couple. Number one, Dominique Morceau. I hope I'm saying that right. But she is the playwright for Ain't Too Proud. It's that musical about the Temptations that went up. It was the year after Hamilton that one went up. So 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. That it went to the Tonys at least.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. And it's a really good, like, well-rounded story, and it's got generations of Temptations. It's basically a show with a bunch of Black men singing in harmony on stage, and I don't know if you can find that anywhere else. That is a gorgeous show. She also did Detroit 67 that BTE did last spring before the pandemic hit. And then she also wrote Pipeline, which we were thinking about doing, but with rights, it was tricky, so we ended up not doing it. And then secondly, Terrell Alvin McCraney, he wrote Moonlight, but he also did Choir Boy, which went up the same year that Ain't Too Proud went up.
Okay.
And honestly, him writing about queerness and Blackness at the same time in both of those pieces is just like it just hits different. It hits in a way that a lot of media doesn't hit right now, and I think that's an intersection that could be played with and explored a lot more. Mm-hmm. But it is such a specific intersection that you have to be very, very careful with, and he does it very, very well. Then James Baldwin, If Bill Street Could Talk. I'm actually taking a class about James Baldwin right now. He is a wordy writer. I will say that.
Very much so. He likes
to talk. Then Lorraine Hansberry, Raising the Sun. I just love the way she's just able, like, to capture things so correctly, you know?
Yeah.
Capture moments in family and
make them feel real.
Right. Like, the conversations in Raising in the Sun, one, are timeless, two, feel like they've happened. Then George C. Wolfe, and lastly, August Wilson with his Century Cycle series that we also talked about in Setting the Scene with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But his whole Century Cycle is really, really good. And so most people know Fences, but there's Fences, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Jitney, The Piano Lesson, and 10 more, because it's a Century Cycle, one every 10 years. And they're all beautiful stories that have a lot of range, that have a lot of high moments and low moments, and are really challenging pieces for, like, any actor or director or anybody, really.
Yeah, and also, I mean, similar to Lorraine Hansberry, you know, excellent at capturing those moments in history and making them feel real. Yeah. So, you know, obviously you're a theater major. I'm a theater major. And one of the cool things about UGA is they try to give us a little experience in as much of the industry as possible. So one of the things that I was wanting to know is in terms of, Nala apparently disconnected. We will get her back in just a second, folks. Just give us 1 second. We will make sure that everything's going okay with Nala. Should be back in just a moment. But yeah. Let's take a quick look in the chat, make sure everything's going well. Yes, Ben Tankersley, we most definitely do love Viola Davis. Hello, mother. Hello, Heidi. And yes, I recognize the fact that you think Spider-Man was terrible. I get it. We've discussed it multiple times. Give me just a second, y'all. Let me get in touch with Nala, make sure that everything is okay. I think that her phone just disconnected. All right. Yep, let's get a text off to her. Should be back in just a moment, folks. Oh man. But yeah, definitely. And here she is once again. Hey,
I am
you are
so
totally
sorry.
good.
That is so embarrassing. My phone died.
You are 100% fine. It's
I am
not the
so
first time it's happened. It's not the last time it's happened.
I am so sorry. Oh my
No,
goodness.
it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. But going back to what I was asking before, UGA they give us a little bit of experience on a lot of different fields. And my question is, from an offstage perspective, what is your preferred position on a production team? So would it be directing, maybe producing, choreographing? What is that for you?
I have to because I've never been good with just picking one thing. It's directing and it's choreographing because it's just they just make me so happy,
Yeah.
When with choreographing, when you have a vision, my brain works faster than my mouth or my hands do sometimes. So when I see something in my head and it just works out and the bodies move just so that if there are ripples, the ripples or the moments coincide just so perfectly, it's that fulfillment I was talking about. That's the only way I can put it that makes sense, because it's a warm feeling in my chest, and it kind of feels like if you were like to open like a clam and expect a pearl, but the whole thing becomes sparkles when it opened, and it's like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And then directing, I'm a little bit of an obsessive person. When I get on a show, I go through it top to bottom. I look through everything. I think about every instance. I think about how things are traditionally done, how they could be done. And then I think about what the actor might think about. So I did High School Musical a couple years back, my junior year in high school. And I essentially assistant directed that. And so we get to that scene where it's like, I can't take my eyes off of you. That one.
Yeah.
And it's traditionally just Troy and Gabriella on stage in little garden thing or whatever. But I couldn't shake how jazzy the sound of that song is. It's completely different from anything else in the show. It is in my head kind of not even in my head. It's like their escape in that one moment from all the hustle and bustle and the division of their high school. So they get on stage and they have their little moment. But for other reasons too, our Troy and Gabriella, they were finding ways to create chemistry with each other, and they were still working on that. So I was like, okay, well, let's help them. So we had this one really good saxophonist, and he was a bit of a performer. So I was like, I want you to get up there with them. So like they were center and he was down right.
Yeah.
He was down right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, trust me, because I do the exact same thing.
He was down right. And he's in his blue light. He's got his shades on. His saxophone is blue. And he's just playing. And they're having their little moment, slow dancing or whatever. Can't take their eyes off each other. And it was really a moment. It was a moment, and I loved it. He's dressed in all black because that's what our band was dressed in whenever they would perform. And then they've got Troy and Gabriella center. And it just made sense. It was their jazz angel playing for only them in this specific moment.
Yeah.
High School Musical was also the first show that I like choreographed by myself for the most part. There was literally like 1 or 2 songs I didn't do, but for the most part it was me. And I keep thinking about like when I like ripples. My background is in cheer, so I have a huge thing for ripples and for sharpness and for being exact in a way that's like crisp but not ballet, you know? You feel me?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I had this one canon type ripple that's happening during Status Quo. Because in the show version, there are 2 verses going on. Like the jocks, the pro Sharpay people are singing one thing, and the anti Status Quo people are singing another thing. But they sing it over each other. So instead of just a mass of like talking back at each other, I decided to make separate choreo for those parts, but in a way that they kind of mirrored each other. So there were moments when it kind of looked like they were doing the opposite thing or the same thing, and it just came together in a way that was so fun. And of course you have the chaos at the end and the pie in the face, and it all just really, really worked out, and it made my chest do the thing.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, you know, when we come into college, you know, looking for a theater degree, you know, most of us, like, you know, we want to be an actor, but I think a lot of people miss just like how, in my opinion, how cool it is to be on the production side of things.
Oh my God,
like,
I love production.
Because I mean, you get to take ownership of a show in a way that, I mean, it's just not the same as when you're acting. Yeah. So kind of going off of that, and I know that you are someone who loves good choreography. I just want to know, which do you prefer, a dance heavy show or a singing heavy show?
You know, my favorite answer to one of the or is normally both.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of a mix, but if I had to pick one, I would say a dance heavy show. I have trouble focusing sometimes, and sometimes a lot of park and bark shows will bore me to tears personally. That's just Nala. So if there's a show where every other moment they're busting a move, I'm like, yeah, this is the show. So SpongeBob, Hamilton, Chicago, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. Dreamgirls, Ain't Too Proud, like
West Side Story, maybe.
West Side Story, Bring It On. You could technically do it within the Heights. People don't get into it like they could, but you could get into it if you wanted to.
It looks like the film is going into dance heavy.
Yeah,
which
I'm excited.
I can get behind that.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Anthony Ramos. Who. And that is a well-rounded, beautiful young man. If he doesn't become an EGOT winner, I'm personally going to take offense. Very personally.
I feel like Anthony Ramos is the one singular actor who comes up on this show the most, because I'm thinking, and I believe Amara brought him up when she was on. I think Haley mentioned him when she was on. I feel like Ben might have mentioned him at one point when he was on. Yeah.
All those people have taste. Hey, Amara. Hey, Ben. All of those people have taste, because there's something about there's something about Hamilton being on Disney Plus, about a grown man on his knees. And I just turned 9. I'm 9, looking at me in my eyes. I'm 9. Lynn and Pippa, he's 9. Me, he's 9. 9.
He is phenomenal. Like in the purest form of the word, phenomenal. Okay, so sticking on this very like theater theater as a whole train of thought. I think one of the coolest things that can happen in college or even high school performances for some part of it, but something that's not really practiced in the professional world is the process of doing gender bent shows. And not necessarily talking about, well, one character who was written as a man is played by a woman as a woman, or played by a woman as a man, what have you. But I don't feel like you see that much in the professional world. So one thing that I was curious of is, what is a dream role or play that you would like to see gender bent?
This one is kind of selfish. Like, I could think more about it for other shows, but for me personally, I want to be Genie, like Broadway level Genie, like have the resources to have a big Genie, and you can flip all of Aladdin. You can do it. I'm down with that, just as long as I get to be Genie for the dance thing, and just Genie. Acts as like a narrator for that show, and kind of is just like a performance type role as opposed to just a dance role or just a singing role. Because you can be the prettiest little singer in the world, but if you can't perform, you're not going to be a good Genie, and you ruin the show. And you can be the best little dancer in the world, but if you can't perform, you're not going to have a good Genie. You need a performer to really get down on Genie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about Anthony Ramos and how amazing he is, and I get that. However, James Monroe Iglehart holds a special place just in my heart, in my soul. Full disclosure, I sent him an email like 2 or 3 months after we started this show, and I was like, "Hi, just wanted to let you know I love everything you do. If you ever find it in your heart to be on this little show that I do on the internet, I would be honored to have you." He never responded. But it's the thought.
You know what? It'll come back around. It'll come back
one day.
It'll be full circle, and you'll be like, period, because he really did that. Like, no, my dad said it best. Nobody wants to go after the legend. Nobody wants to be second, because following up an animated Robin Williams, that is ridiculous.
Like, you're coming into a losing battle.
Right. And so for him to make Genie his own and keep the essence of this vibrant character who gives and gives and gives and is fun, but also wants things for himself and is able to like feel and like be funny through the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Him being able to navigate that in a way that is entertaining and makes the audience feel for him as a character, that is something that few people can say.
Yeah.
And I just think that is so amazing. And if I could ever get the chance, I'm hopping on that Genie train. A choo-choo.
Well, I'll just throw it up here because I'm of the same thought, because Ben Tankersley believes that you would be, quote, a freaking amazing Genie.
Thank you, Ben.
Genie. Yeah.
Thank you,
Love
Ben.
that. So, okay, so we're starting to kind of like come to the end of this show, and now I know something that's been very important to your undergrad experience up until this point, and to mine all the way through college, has been the student theater groups. We have phenomenal student theater groups at UGA. Literally love them to death. And And, especially during times of COVID, I think we've seen a lot of overlap and a lot of partnership with the student theater groups that we haven't seen on as big of a scale as we have this year. Like, BTE is partnered with Children's Theater Troupe, and BTE is partnered with Next Act, and Yeru Mechanicals is partnered with, I believe, Thalians. So, my question for you is, what is a dream UGA student group collaboration that you would love to see?
Okay. I've had some time to think about this, because I've had this idea since I got on the BTE board, which was last spring. And my idea is a type of showcase. It's everybody. It's BTE, Children's Theater Troupe, Thalians, Yeru Mechanicals, Improv Athens, BCM, Shark Wing, Next Act. It's all of us, and it's a showcase. There's scripted stuff, but there's stuff for Improv Athens. There's music and Next Act. There's some kind of overarching theme for Children's Theater Troupe and Thalians and BTE, and also Shark Wing, that ties us together and presents to the community like, hey, we're here. And not only do we make wonderful theater separately, but we also do great things together. And that is a venture that I think would work best in person. As much as I love Zoom, and as wonderful as Zoom is, that is something that would have to happen in person. I also this isn't a production thing, but before the pandemic, one of my first things on the board was going to be, my first event was going to be like a banquet of sorts for all the student theater orgs, because at my school we always had banquets at the end of the year, and it was weird to me to have a year and not have some kind of banquet at the end. And I had made so many friends in so many different orgs. I was like, let's just bring everybody together and let's talk about theater, and let's eat, and let's dance, and let's just have a good time. Almost like drama prom, but with a specific focus on the student groups, and like hopefully somebody being able to create something out of that moment. And also a moment to dress up, because I love to stunt.
Yeah.
I love to stunt.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I have spoken about that, and I think that's, I first of all agree that's something that needs to happen in person. But I think that's such a strong message, like, to the community, like, hey, we know that each of these groups has very dedicated fan bases, but also there are a ton of other groups, and we all pull from each other all the time. We all are collaborating off stage. Like, here's the whole shebang. Yeah, absolutely. So now, obviously, speaking of student group collaborations, I know that BTE, Black Theatrical Ensemble, and Next Act, friend of the show, y'all are collaborating on an event that auditions are happening right now. So I gotta know, tell me about Boss Babes.
Okay, so Boss Babes is a collaboration between BTE and Next Act to showcase the stylings of the strong women in music, and to give everyone a chance to express themselves in a new way. The Next Act does a lot of they do a lot of musical theater, but this is a chance for them to branch out music wise, but also like find new people to widen themselves. And the same goes for BTE, for us to find new talent, and for us to find more people who are excited about theater, who are excited about inclusion, and doing stuff with people that they might not normally do stuff with,
Yeah.
Boss Babes is just that moment for everyone to come together and to have a good time.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be an awesome event. I believe Kendall Reeves and Sydney Wakeford are directing. And for anyone who's watching this who would be interested in auditioning for the Boss Babes Cabaret, I believe auditions are going until this Sunday, correct? The 31st?
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely, if you're interested, go check it out. It's a collaboration between Black Theatrical Ensemble and Next Act, two phenomenal organizations. But yeah. Well, Nala, thank you again so much for coming on. Thank you for coming on last minute, because that's what a lot of people don't know is this was a last minute setup, and good Lord, I mean, you came in here swinging. So thank you again so much for that. Did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
Well, wonderful. Well, look, thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you as always to my mom for blowing up the chat. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to Brett Green for quote loving this content. We love to see it, Brett. But yeah, well, thank you everyone. Be sure to check out Black Theatrical Ensemble. Be sure to check out Boss Babes, and all the other amazing things that the student groups at UGA are doing. And once again, thank you, Anala. Be sure to keep up with Viter Media. We have new episodes of Saying the Scheme coming out every Wednesday, and in 2 weeks, Miss Nala McCamy is going to be a guest on one of our episodes. So yeah. But until then, I'm Doug Gooden. She's Nala McCamy, and this has been the Tea. Y'all have a great week.
Bye, everybody.